That's right. Okay, well.
How good, Ashfaq?
The team for our team here, it was a Springbok team.
Were you watching the Stormers training session? Right?
Sorry, man. But that doesn't work here.
Okay, what's that line out call they're doing now?
Whatever come up, check. Facing it now and Aaron said two back.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, that's an incredible backline we put together now. Yeah, I mean, literally all of them have played for South Africa, and some on the bench have played for South Africa. So, first time we put them together as a combination, but I mean, obviously, I know how talented they are. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how quickly they take before they can click. As I said, they're all very talented rugby players. Just a question of how long it's going to take for us to get them to gel as a team and as a unit.
And just one question at flyers. I know you played two back last week. How's it been going?
Yeah, very good, very good. No, no, look, I mean, last week, as I said to you, it was grooming him into that team environment after 11 months out. As I said, taking nothing away from Chris. Chris did quite well, but I think it was always a question of time before we give Goosen a time at number 10 as well.
Jake, will you see more more running and less kicking with this backline?
I hope so. I hope so, Quibus. Yeah, I mean, when I say that, I mean, they're very talented. I mean, they keep the ball in hand. I mean, you see them at training. When they make line breaks, there's so much support, and it's a nice afternoon game. Well, it's not middle of the night, and it's not raining or anything. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the ball in hand. But again, I mean, part of rugby is also how cleverly you kick, and all of those guys are clever rugby players.
Jake, just in terms of he's had a bit of an apprenticeship now, on the bench, but just Francois Clopper, tuck stalwart, big guy, just what has appealed you? What has appealed him to you, to sort of like include him for the start of the season? He's sort of like emerged a bit, from the backwaters and stuff. But did he have a good preseason? What impresses you about him?
Look, I think his body shape he looks like a Faskop. I asked him the other day. In fact, Gert Smal asked him what makes a good Faskop, and he said like a good boerewors, but a vark in it, So he summed that up quite nicely as well. So he's got, I mean, body shape, athletic ability. He scrums well. He scrums well for a guy who's relatively young in that position as well. I'm talking about in the front row. Props generally get to the middle, late 20s, early 30s before they mature. But he's done well, and he suits the way we want to play. I mean, if we look and see the way that he carries and the way that he gets around the field, his athletic ability is very good as well. So eventually he's got to get a start. So we give him a start this week and see how he does in a really good pack as well. You got Ruan and Walt and obviously Marcel and Marco, two Springboks there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he sort of mixes with those kind of players as well.
Jack, I'm not suggesting that the others aren't like that, but do you sometimes enjoy working with these varsity cup players? Almost like there's a different type of maturity because these guys sort of like went through the motions. They studied, they also worked hard. In an almost professional environment at Tux itself. Do you sort of like enjoy working with those guys that also come through that system?
Well, in Japan, when I coached there, every player who joins your club has to have a degree. So generally, how it works is the club recruits from university. And in your first year as a rookie, you're 23 years old with a degree. So I enjoyed that as well because players get stimulated differently. It's not the same old, and they stimulate too because they're obviously intelligent guys with degrees. So, I mean, that's the one area where he's a bit older and wiser. But let's take nothing away. I actually did a chat to the boys the other day. I mean, I think 10 of our forwards are still under 25. I mean, so Grobbies and Ruan Nokia and Ulrich Lowe and him and Mornay Smith and Klopper and Simpiwe and all those guys, they haven't gone past 25 years old, and that's relatively young for a group. And you've got Zaki still under 25, David Creel still under 25, Stravino still under 25, Kanan still under 25. So, I've said it many times, I want to coach this team for a long period of time, and I want to see them grow. And when you get guys like a guy like Francois Clopper coming into the group, I mean, if he is where he is now, can you imagine 3 years together with this group of players, how where he can get to?
Jake, hoe het julle wys geword wys op die Stormers kon gewen het Saterdag?
Ek dink wat ons uitgewerk het, Kobus, wat eintlik interessant is, Connacht gee dit nooit weg nie. Jy weet, al was hy game bietjie op die eindtelling bietjie anderste. Ek dink, jy weet, hulle en die eerste game teen Ulster was met 20 minute oor, was dit nog enige span se game. So, jy weet, wat vir ons gewys het is, jy moet nie dink die game gaan net op dit self gebeur nie. En ek verstaan hulle 3-3 gedruk die laaste 10 of 15 minute sonder Bandejakkie, en dis maar, jy weet, 'n groot verlies as jy daai tipe speler van die veld af het. So ja, en ek dink ander feit is, hulle het vir ons 34-7 gewen, dit was die grootste telling teen ons vir die jaar. So, jy weet, ons moet goed speel om teen hulle te wen. Ja, hulle is 'n goeie span. Ek het gelees wat sê hulle coaching staff, jy weet, dis, ja, soos ek sê, hulle verwag, hulle het verlede jaar vir ons pak gegee. Ek onthou dit, ek onthou die omstandighede was anderste, en die wind was anderste, en die veld was anderste, maar nog steeds, om ons te wen 34-7 is, maar ek dink ons 'n groter wen as wat ons die eerste week gekry het teen Leinster.
En jy het ook onlangs gesê, dis die verlede jaar die mees fisieke span teen wie julle
By
gespeel het.
verre, die mees direkte span wat ons gespeel het, goed afgerig, ken vir Andy Friend baie goed ook as by die Brumbies voordat ek aangekom het, so ek ken hom goed. Ja, en ek dink, jy weet, hulle is 'n tipiese Ierse span, jy weet, hulle gee niks weg nie, hulle fight tot die einde, hulle is goed met die bal in die kwartgebied, en hulle is goed op verdediging, so ja, ek dink ek verwag 'n taai stryd, en hulle was naby in al twee games gewees, al het hulle 2 verloor, hulle was nie 'n maklike game vir daai 2 spanne nie.
Op wat punt, Jake, hulle kon ons speel altyd met hulle voorspelers, dit altyd met styf voorspelers, kom jy 2 flanke uit wat na die bal toe speel?
Wel, dis een rede, ek dink ek wil 2 Springbokke speel wat bietjie meer ervaring het, as jy my pak kyk, soos ek net nou gesê het, Roan is jonk, Clopper is jonk, Robbie is jonk, Gerard is jonk, jy weet, dit is niemand se skuld nie, dis wat ek het. En meeste van ons oorseese spelers speel oorsee, meeste van ons spelers wat daai ouderdomsgroep wat ek soek is by Leicester en daai spanne, jy weet, Leinster en Leicester, en kyk Jason Jenkins, en jy kyk vir die Visas, en jy kyk vir Sale Sharks, en daai manne, almal wat 26, 27 jaar oud is, speel oorsee. So, om bietjie ervaring, nie net uitgewys, maar ook ervaring van die Springbokke, en die feit dat hulle miskien ten minste bietjie meer fisiek kan wees in daai area van die breakdown, is vir ons, en met Elrich Louw daar ook, wat terug van die bokke af, gaan vir ons belangrik wees môre.
Jake,
Yes.
Jake, the one guy in that phenomenal backline you've chosen who hasn't played for the Springboks is David Creel.
Yep.
Not
yet.
He's done quite nicely with your move of him to number 12, hasn't he? And then if we can just give us an update though on Harold Forster, whether he's fit or available.
Yeah, I think David sums up everything that I was saying since I took over the Bulls, is we need to be adaptable. We need to be able to play different positions. David's now played wing, fullback, and 12. The one thing that we're very big on in the Bulls is work ethic and intelligence, rugby intelligence. He has both of those. Work rate on the field is incredible. I think he ran the most meters by any player since we've been together in the last game that he played. It was in the Sharks game. In the Lions game. And that again sums it up. We've been looking at stats, for argument's sake, Hugo Keenan, the fullback for Leinster, has run over almost 8 kilometers, and David got almost that same stat at 12. So, yeah, I repeat myself. I think he does a job of what we need. Incredible work rate, great rugby intelligence, got unbelievable skills, and he's been a great bonus for us in that backline. In terms of Harold, and I've got obviously some other inside centers that will be coming back. So we got Baron Smith as well, who's joined us. Probably still needs to just learn the way we want to play. But Harold, I think he's ready to go. He's probably just not running fit yet. I'm talking about for 80 minutes. And the fact that we're getting Cornell and Lionel and David to play as well as they have the first 2 weeks probably allows us the opportunity to give Harold a little bit more time to get into game shape.
Good morning, Jake. You guys have obviously got this game against Connacht tomorrow, but there's another game happening in Bloem, and we presume it's going to be your fringe players, the guys that haven't had much game time. How are you guys approaching the match, and what will your targets be for this game against Cheetahs?
Yeah, Morgan, it's a good question. I want to stress to you that I think with the way the season goes now, we've got to play in Europe. We've got Leon and we've got Exeter Chiefs. I think literally in December, January, we've got like 2 weeks here, 1 week overseas, 1 week here, 1 week overseas. Chances of you being able to take the same group of players back and forth, and get results and expect them to be on top of the game is highly unlikely. So the team that will run out, I mean, I don't want to give it away. I think it's only fair that the coaches that are taking that team, what we've done is we've given Gert is going to oversee that team as a not as a coach at all, but as a sort of eyes for me. And then I've got Wessel, who's been the under-20 coach, having the head coaching role there with 2 club coaches, 2 guys who've won the Carlton League last week, Rian and Christou. Fantastic for our club rugby to have that exposure and for those guys to have first-hand experience of what it's like to coach a professional team. So they've been with us the whole week. And what I'm expecting is, the team is a very, very strong team. We announced the touring side on Saturday morning. I'm hoping that those guys make it difficult for me to leave them at home, but also more importantly, make it difficult for me to decide which of the 2 teams I can put on the field against certain opposition. You know, what I really would like, Morgan, out of this game is for them to show me that if I pick that team as it is to play against Dragons away, or whether I pick them to stay at home while we are away to prepare for another fixture, I would like to believe they're good enough to do it. So, you know, the proof is in the pudding with them. I mean, they've got nothing to lose. They haven't played much rugby. I suppose that's the only negative. A lot of them is their first game in a long time. But, I mean, they're talented players. If you look and see, when you see the team, you'll see that most of them have played Super Rugby. Most of them have played URC Rugby. And the ones who haven't have probably played SA Under-20 Rugby. So, I mean, there's no reason why they won't be able to do well, Morgan.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay.
Jake, I know it's a dynamic that's probably not going to happen too much in future, but currently you must be really chuffed with how your Springboks can be integrated again into your system, because it's not like you guys have Sias and Evans who probably need to rest because they've arguably already overplayed. You have a guy like Kane, who's played, he's match fit, but he hasn't been, overburdened. Same to an extent with Kurtley, Ulrich is back. So you must be really confident, or just like glad with that dynamic that you guys have guys who are match fit, but not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily wrap them in cotton wool. They can just go out.
Well, that is one bonus, but I will say it's not as easy as you think. When they come back holding tackle bags for 3 months, it's not like you're game ready. I know Ulrich played 25 minutes against Argentina, but he wasn't where he would have been if he had been with us the whole time, and I understand that. I mean, it's not a knock on the Springboks at all. I mean, I know that I was a Bok coach as well, and you need numbers for training, and you need... So it isn't ideal when you let guys go and they come back, even though they've had the experience of being with the Boks, and even though they've probably played a little bit of rugby, they still lose out the whole dynamic of what you need at your training sessions. And I saw Ulrich last week wasn't as great as I've seen him play, but he knows that. And then we got this November tour where they're going to take an SAA side. So there's a lot of, so to answer your question, we probably haven't been in that situation, but we will be in that situation. I think that's probably one thing I've also worked out, is that once they take an extended squad and they take an SAA side, then guys like Sabu Nkosi, guys like Ruan Nokia, guys like Ulrich Lowe, maybe Marcel Coetzee all come into reckoning again, and then we're going to have to box clever. So that's why this Free State game is important for me, and also it's important for me to see what other combinations I have, because if in November, I think they play England outside the test window, and they take, I don't know how many they're going to take, but if they take certain of our players, then we've got to be able to move Simelane to fullback or David Creel to wing, or whatever the story is. So it is nice, but I mean, I foresee that it's not going to always be as lucky for us, especially if we keep winning and we keep doing well with these junior players. Yes, at the back there. Sorry, I cut you short. Okay. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, Jake.
Yes.
I don't know if you've been asked this, but just on Connacht, they went down quite heavily last week, and we all know what happened in Galway the last time.
Yes.
The sense of revenge, and you've got a better plan worked out this time.
Yeah, look, Ashfaq, we don't use revenge in rugby. That's martial arts, I think, or something. But anyway, we lost to them. They had a good side. They got a very good side. They play a style that's very difficult to contain. We saw last week again. I mean, literally, other than the red card, they were still in the game, and against Ulster, they were in the game as well. It wasn't like they were blown away. I think at a certain stage, it was literally one score away from both those games going the other way. So, yeah, it's a game that we're gonna have to play well. We're gonna have to play well against them. They beat us by the biggest margin last year. As fact, 34-7 was the biggest score we had against us. So I mean, we know they're a good side. We're gonna have to play well.
Jake.
Yes, hold on, Ken. Yep.
Not sure if this has been touched already, but I mean, second season in.
Yes.
Preparing then for sort of these teams, have sort of the dynamics change in how you go in and prepare? Is it an advantage that you know each other, or is it a disadvantage?
Okay, so let me say, it just depends on who you play. I mean, you look carefully now. Glasgow got a new coach in Franco. You know, some other coaches have got the same coaching staff. In other words, you know, sometimes like the Stormers are the same coaching staff. So it just depends on who you play. You know, the second year can be the same, but it can also be massively different based on the fact that the coaching staff and some of the players have left. You know, so you know, that's the nice thing about this competition. It's not given that because last year you beat someone, they're going to beat you this year, or conversely, because they had the same coaching staff or they had the coaching staff, they're going to play the same way. Sometimes they play completely differently. You know, so I think that's what makes URC so exciting.
Has that been challenging for you?
No. I mean, I suppose that was like being a coach. You know, that's what it's like. You know, it's you've got to, even if you've had the same coaching staff, you've sometimes got to change what you do as well. So you also got to come up with a few new ideas. You can't be stale. Because you know, one of the things I learned is that if coaches change in a team, they play differently. Some of the best teams are the ones that can adapt their game and give you also different questions on a Saturday. Yes, Ken.
Jake, you mentioned Connacht being a very direct team. Do you feel, though, apart from the red card, that also the Stormers really dominating on the gain line was what turned the tide for them last weekend? And it's an area where obviously a strength of your team as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's certain ways that you can. I mean, and I think the Stormers did it well. Also, to be fair, Connacht probably conceded so many penalties early on and got the scoreboard running away from them. I think it was about 13-8, and it was getting a little bit ahead of them. So it also makes it difficult when you play away from home. You know, it happened to us last year in Connacht. Once they got into a lead and we had to play catch-up rugby, it's difficult. And that's not just because it's Connacht. I think that's just the nature of the comp, Ken. So, yeah, we're going to have to, you saw what happened 2 weeks in a row. We've got 15-point start and still really had to work hard to get a result. So it's not as easy as we all think. It's going to be a tough game. They're a good side. They are a good side. And yeah, I mean, we obviously got to make sure we work hard enough to keep our momentum going into. We leave on Monday, go around the world to get to London, and then we play Glasgow next week. So we're going to make sure we get it right.
Jake, I probably wouldn't have asked this question if Kanan didn't say he probably feels like he needs to play a bit like a Springbok now that he's back. But just from your perspective, he is only still 19. Does anything actually change with the way you deal with him now that he was a Springbok, for the past month or so?
Yeah, I'm tougher on him now. I'm much tougher on him now. And I mean that because I think I've got kids, and obviously it's the most normal thing in the world. Normal thing. He's now gone from nowhere to Springbok to scoring tries in rugby championships. So I'm tough on him, not in a horrible way. Tough on him because I want him to make sure he stays like he is, But I mean, I don't really have to worry about him. He's incredible. Yesterday morning we had off 9 o'clock. He's here doing extras. So he hasn't lost the fact that he is who he is, and that's one of his attributes. I read an article the other day, and it's true. He's a 13. I've got centres that are getting on now. And I'm saying Lionel's been around for a long time. Cornell's been around for a long time. Won't be long before Kanan goes into the 13 jersey as well, and then there'll be more work for him to get right. So, yeah, I said it many times. He'll play 100 tests for South Africa, and people are seeing now what I see. Not because it's given, not because it's a freebie, just because he is who he is. And I think I'll continue to be tough on him to make sure that he doesn't miss that opportunity to become a 100-test Springbok. That's going to be massive for South Africa.
Jake, just a question on nothing to do with this game on FC du Plessis. There were stories that he's leaving. Is it true? And then he came here with a bit of a reputation as maybe the next Springbok fly-off, and then couldn't make the Curry Cup setup.
Yeah.
They picked Mostert before him. And,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, but it's very interesting, Chris. It's interesting. I mean, the reality, he wants to be a 10. Don't think he fits in the way that we want to play as a 10. It's no one's fault. You know, he's got certain skill sets that he uses. They're probably not the 10 skill sets that we would like. He's now got an opportunity to go overseas and play in a club where they they want to play him 10. So two things could happen. One is he could end up playing lots more 10 and developing his game, and hopefully if he is the package we want, he'll come back. If not, you know, then he'll continue to play 10 in another competition. But you know, it's just the way it is sometimes. You know, there's certain skill sets some guys have, and they play 10 a different way. And if you look at the 10s we have, you know, it's probably not the way. And he has a desire to play 10. You know, and if you look at Chris and you look at you know, obviously Goose, and you look at a guy like Byron Smith, I mean, the reality is a long time before we can give him enough game time at 10. So, one of the things I stress to everyone, is when you come to the Bulls, we want you to leave as a better player. If you leave, we want to make sure that you can always come back. I mean, there are a lot of guys, Marco van Staden's come back already. So we, you know, there's never a bad feeling. It's not like, listen, he must go and all that. He came here, you know, we obviously had a plan for him. We got to be honest with him. That plan's probably not going to come as quickly as he would like it to have come. And if it doesn't, then we're going to help him find another opportunity, which he's now got, and hopefully he does well. All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys.